Hey, Wixman Ray here. Welcome to another edition of our weather updates. Hey, hope you're having a good beginning to your weekend, if it is your weekend. If it's not your weekend, I hope you have a good weekend whenever that comes. So, anyways, today is Friday, April 24th, 2026. We're a week away from May, so we're moving right through April. I think the spring equinox was the other day too. It's usually around the 21st or 22nd of April. So, anyways, yeah, that's when the sun is right over the equator. So, if you didn't know that. So, anyways, just a little interesting science fact for those who like that kind of stuff. All right, so we got a pretty active pattern out here. Today I'm going to show you the upper level flow just because it's going to help me out to explain things to you and kind of show you what's going on and why it's so active. So we got this, there's a low pressure sitting up into Canada somewhere up here in one of these provinces up here. I forget which one is which up here. I know that's British Columbia. Is that Calgary? I don't know. Maybe that's a city up there. I don't know. Anyways, I better be quiet or I'm gonna really mess it up. So, anyways, we got a low pressure spinning it up in southern Canada. Quite a bit of clouds and some showery activity up through Montana and parts of northern Idaho and back into Wyoming a little bit and even extending out into North Dakota. And we got this wave developing. We'll have to investigate and see what that is, if it's a front or what it is. And there's a couple thunderstorms, I believe, there in Nebraska, maybe even in South Dakota. There's some colder cloud tops that kind of look convective-y. Convective means like thunderstorms, so or showers. So they're those bubbly clouds you see in the side, in the sky. Sorry. So if I say convection, um, that's a meteorological term for showery or thunderstorm activity. So yeah, so you learned something today. We do have some clouds moving across the western part of the United States here. I think there's not a lot really associated with it other than just some maybe some mid and high level cloud through here. I believe this is associated with the jet stream. So, and then we got some thunderstorms now down here. We've got kind of an area of surface low pressure that's developed out here in this part of the country, and so we're seeing some thunderstorms developing along kind of the remnants of a front. Um, it's kind of a warm or stationary type front, I guess you can call it, with the cold front extending up to the north here. But we got some pretty strong thunderstorms across parts of Oklahoma, northeast Texas, and Arkansas, extending through. There's a few down into northern Louisiana, also through Mississippi and over into Alabama. A couple of severe thunderstorms too. I think there's a tornado warning on one over here. I don't know if you saw the videos, but there was a pretty cool, it was cool looking. It did cause some damage. I don't think there was any fatalities, as far as I've heard. Up in Enid, Oklahoma, which is up in this part of the state, northern part of Oklahoma. That's where we saw those tornado warnings yesterday when I was talking to you. But yeah, those are pretty cool to see. But not so cool for those who maybe got damage or lost home or property or whatever was damaged out there. So, anyways, yeah. So back to the satellite. So we got along this boundary here. I would call it a stationary front right now. We got a lot of pretty rough and tumble thunderstorms, and then there's a cold front that extends roughly from, I don't know. I'd have to look at the obs, but somewhere in the south here, up into Tennessee, and then across into Ohio, and then up north into Canada. That's a cold front, and we're getting some showery activity. There's a little bit of lightning activity across Ohio, I believe, and maybe down into Kentucky. But not a whole lot going on other than mostly just rain showers. And then back here across the Pennsylvania, down through the mid-Atlantic, a few showers today along this I think it's a warm front moving through that area. So, and then we had a few showers across Florida down here. That's why you see these clouds. I think they're mostly dying out now. There might be a couple lingering, but they're pretty much gone. So that's satellite. Oh, and then there's a few clouds still lingering up across the Maine and parts of the Northeast with that cool air that's still spinning around. We got a low pressure that spins. This is what we call the graveyard of lows. It usually happens on the east coast of continents. You get a lot of low pressures that will kind of like occlude. That's basically in the stage of dying after they've matured. Matured means they're at their strength, their peak strength, or as they're strengthening. And then occlusion means occluding lows and fronts, or when they're in their dissipating or weakening stages. But they can stay occluded for days and days and just spin up here. And this is a common area, kind of northeast of the U.S. here. So this is why the northeastern U.S. sometimes gets plagued by a lot of cool outbreaks and rain. And in the winter, it can bring a lot of snow, especially lake effects. So, yeah, just a little thing about meteorology, and that's kind of influenced by the oceans and where the continents are, and the location of continents and the oceans. So just a cool little fact, something that I learned many years ago. All right, so we'll move on to our observations. Pretty quiet out west. Not too bad of a day out there in Seattle and Portland in the 60s. They're at 6:40 in the evening out there. It's 7:40 Mountain Time, and then 8:40 here on the Central Time Zone, and then 9:40 out east. So it's Friday, getting to be Friday night for most of us. Pretty warm across California in the 70s, 60s, like it normally is in California. They're getting when they in San Diego and LA, getting those ocean breezes, and a little bit cooler in San Francisco, 8:58 with the ocean breeze. Real nice across northern Nevada, 50s and 60s, relatively nice, and so 80 in Las Vegas, so not a bad day for them. 89 in Phoenix, so it's starting to warm up there, but not as hot as it has been in recent memory. Looks like there's a few showers that were out here, but I would just based on how dry the dew points are like in the teens, which is very dry, so that there's probably nothing reaching the ground. We got a few showers out here too, maybe a few reaching the ground in Northern California. This stuff out in Nevada might be causing some sprinkles, but maybe just some virga, which means it's evaporating before it hits the ground. So that's what we see out there. Pretty nice across Utah, 61 in Salt Lake City, 65 in Denver, it looks like, or is that 69? Anyways, it's in the 60s. Nice out in Colorado today. As we move up north, we're seeing some of them, looks like some snow showers, just a few of them across to Wyoming, probably where it's a little warmer, they're getting some rain, but up in Montana, they're getting some areas of snow. It looks like some snow showers. It's in the upper 20s to 30s, a couple 40s, low 40s anyways. So they're getting a little bit of snow showers. So a little bit chilly up there for late April for I keep calling them something else. They're Montana. They're not Michigan or Minnesota. They're Montana. Same thing up in North Dakota. It's a little chilly up there, especially the western part. They're influenced by this low pressure that's up in Canada, and I'll show you that here in a minute. Yeah, it looks like we got not it's not really a cold front, but we got an upper level disturbance bringing some rain across South Dakota into Nebraska. It looks like a couple thunderstorms across Nebraska here. Yeah, there is actually is a cold front down here in Nebraska, so this stuff's associated with the front. The stuff farther north is probably more upper level induced. Um, pretty nice across the plains and into Missouri today. It was in the 70s. It's starting to cool back into the 60s in some spots, but kind of the same story down here in Oklahoma. Cooler behind that cold front that went through last night with those storms. Um, and here's a kind of a rogue storm, isolated storm down there across southern Oklahoma. There it doesn't look like it's severe, but pretty strong storm anyways. South of the front is pretty warm in the 80s, upper 70s to 80s, and pretty moist, humid out there. We got a tornado warning there down. What's that? Is that Paris? Yeah, it's Paris, Texas, close south of there. So yeah, there's a tornado warning down through that area. So watch out if you live in those parts. Some severe storms running from southeast Oklahoma, the extreme corner, anyways, down up through near Hot Springs, Arkansas, and up there across, the central part of Arkansas, near, close to Little Rock. It looks like they're getting some thunderstorms. And then south of there, some isolated storms, even down into Louisiana. Some isolated stuff. You'll have to watch out for severe with some of these storms, possibly tonight. Farther to the east, out in Mississippi, we've got a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings. A lot of pretty rough-looking storms. These ones might be putting out some gusty winds too. Watch out for those. They might put a severe out on that with that Boeing look up to those. And then they're just starting to come into Alabama, kind of west to southwest of Tuscaloosa. So out there in the western part of Alabama. Otherwise, pretty warm in South Texas. Some 80s showing up down there. Nice across Florida this evening tonight. Like I said, there was a couple showers, and maybe there were storms earlier, but they're dissipating. Same thing down in South Florida. Couple showers, but they're kind of going to bed. And then we'll kind of move up to the north here. So here's that cold front. It's kind of weakening on the southern end, but as you get up into Kentucky and Ohio, Indiana, you got some pretty good rain going on. A couple areas with some thunderstorms or a little bit of lightning, but nothing significant, nothing severe out there at all, really. And still some lingering rain back in Michigan. Temperatures aren't too bad though. They're in the 50s and 60s underneath this rain shield. A little bit cooler up in northern Michigan in the 40s. UP is up around 40. Across the northeast, like I said, a little cool. Looks like the precip's pretty much done. Some upper 20s and 30s across Maine, and then 40s to 50s across much of the rest of the northeast. Then there's those few showers, maybe a couple thunderstorms hanging around. Looks like that one near Delaware. Or is this? Oh, this is Maryland going across the. I forget the name of that body of water. I'm dumb, but anyways, the Potomac or something. Yes, I don't know. Maybe somebody can correct me. Anyways, so yeah, thunderstorm there. But otherwise, some few showers back through Pennsylvania and into the Delaware area and New Jersey. So southern New Jersey, anyways. All right, and a little bit in Virginia. So yeah, that's about it for the surface. So we'll go into the model here. This is our 500 millibar depiction. Y'all know what this is. No, I'm just joking. Some of you might, because I've talked about this several times now. This is our chart at 18,000 feet above sea level, approximately. It's pretty close. So, anyways, and this is showing you the heights, or you can kind of think of it as like low pressure and high pressure. So with the heights. So I won't go into explain the heights to you. That'll be a meteorology 101 course or something, but anyways, so and then you're seeing vorticity on this chart, so that's these colors you're seeing. So when you're seeing like the orange and reds, that means there's stronger vorticity usually, and this is what helps to produce clouds and bring lift into the atmosphere and produce clouds and precipitation. sometimes or many times. So what we've got going on, this is through midnight tonight. So there's that low pressure sitting up over southern Canada that I talked about, and then you got kind of a broad area low pressure, um, and there's several what we call shortwave troughs, kind of rotating through. There's probably one back here in Washington, one moving through, parts of Montana and Wyoming, and then one up in northern Minnesota, maybe another one up in Canada. But what happens with this is this thing's kind of just spinning up there, not really moving very fast, and so you just have the energy kind of pulsating around it, and that's why we've seen these showers out here for several days. I think it's been 3 or 4 or 5 days now. Across the northern Rockies, we've seen a lot of rain and snow showers. So that's what's going on there. That's what's causing that. You got that low pressure, general low pressure. As you move south, you kind of got a broad brushed ridge across, California through the desert southwest, extending down through Texas and into, the Gulf down there, the Gulf of America or Gulf of Mexico, whatever you choose to call it. So, and you can kind of see that by this anticyclonic flow or um, counterclockwise flow. So, that's what it's called, anticyclonic flow. And this is called cyclonic flow when it's going clockwise. Just a little thing that we. That's how I learned way back in my military days about weather. Some of the basics. Anyway, so and then we see this yellow and orange stuff. These are little pulses of energy. So it looks like there might be a little shortwave trough, as we call them, energy moving through Nevada and Utah, Nevada, and Arizona, and that's why we saw that cloud, the clouds out through here. And we also saw there's another little wave moving through Colorado, and that's where we had those clouds I was telling you about earlier. And then here's another little wave out here in Oklahoma and Missouri. That's helping to support all this activity, them severe storms we saw down through here. So when you get really warm, moist air and just some perturbations in the atmosphere, as we call them, little short waves, that's all you need sometimes for severe thunderstorms, just a little upper level umph, as they call it. So, so that's what you got going down here. A little bit of energy down here, and that's where we're seeing those other storms. Um, and then up north, there's that little wave up here through Michigan that's supporting that weakening front. Actually, the front kind of extends up into here, so it has some influence from this big low. It was spun off from this big low a couple days ago, but it's weakening. So this is kind of all the energy with that front kind of extending down through here, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. So yeah, and then here's that. This thing's been here for days, all week. We have a low pressure out off the east coast of the United States, off of Maine there, and that's just bringing that northerly flow, and that is bringing cooler air across the Northeast. That's why they haven't really warmed up significantly this week, especially up in Maine and Vermont and those areas. So anyway, so that's kind of your broad brush of what's going on. So there's a lot of little waves across the south here with a broad ridge, which typically, if there was none of these waves, you would have pretty quiet weather. But with those waves, you're seeing storms and showers. So anyway, so that's what's going on there. So we'll go through time here. We'll just go through the weekend on this one. I'll kind of show you what's going on. This is what's causing what. So as we go, this is going into Saturday through the day. So we got this. You see this area of low pressure comes off the Pacific, and it looks like it starts to move inland and weaken a little bit, but it brings in a lot of energy across California into Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. So they may bring in some showers, maybe some thunderstorms as we go into tomorrow, which I think we're going to see. And then we see this other wave out here entering the plains. So keep an eye on that. This you can kind of see this here. See how it's just kind of rotating around and not moving much, and you get those little pieces of energy. So we kind of see the same thing. We do see a little. You see this little See this right here? See, that's rotating down into Washington and Oregon. So a little piece of energy coming out of Canada into the northwest. And then, so this is that front. So you can kind of see it's moving into New York and down through, you know, West Virginia and Kentucky and into the northeast as we go into Sunday. But and then, you know, just other little waves still coming across. So as we go into Sunday, so you kind of see this. So we'll see what I was talking about here. So this is kind of weakening, but it's bringing all this energy across the west. So on Sunday, the entire west, you'll see all them showers and storms, maybe some mountain snow, and then that starts coming into the plains, and that's what's going to start firing up that. I think there's a low pressure. I know there's a front forming with a bunch of rain and some storms coming towards Sunday, at least the southern part. And you can see this energy here. This thing's starting to move. It's still affecting the northeast, but moving offshore for the most part. You see this one is still up there, but it's weakening and kind of looks like it's slowly getting ejected or moving to the north. So you see it. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what I did. I did a copy or something. So you're seeing less energy up here. So it's going to start quieting down a little bit up here where we've seen all that activity. But we see this new wave that came down here. So you see that little, so pieces of energy are coming through the northwest, and that's going to help bring more precipitation through the west. So, and then we see this moving out on Monday. So this is that storm that came out. So it started out in California, and now it's over here in Colorado. And now by, you know, Monday, it's already in the plains, and so that's going to push a whole frontal system with the severe storms and whatnot uh, to the east. So that's what's going on. So pretty active pattern. You can kind of see 1, 2 major waves or areas of low pressure in here with some other minor things south and 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 whatnot. So yeah. And it looks like finally the Northeast clears this stuff out, and maybe by Tuesday they see a high pressure ridge, so they might warm up and see better weather, at least temporarily until that comes in midweek. But I'm not going to talk that far out. I'm just going to go through Monday. Probably tomorrow we'll start talking about Tuesday or Wednesday, but there's just a lot going on, so I don't want to just like overwhelm you or confuse you by what day is going to do what. So try to keep it a little more simple. So this is our surface depiction. So there's that low that I was talking about. There's a surface reflection up in Canada. And there's still a few snow showers, mostly up across Montana, parts of Idaho, and Wyoming. And then here's this little, so this is a little frontal system. Like I said, most of the front's down here, but it's getting some influence from this low, but that's because that energy was coming around this low pressure and helping to, and so we see a surface low developing in eastern Colorado and reinforcing this new front. That's this kind of a warm front that's developing out here across Nebraska and parts of Colorado and Kansas there. Um, so, and here's that front here, and here's all that activity down across the south. We've got this stationary front with the cold front kind of extending back to the north. So as we go through the day on Saturday, looks like that kind of weakens. This stuff will be ongoing across the south and kind of weaken. As you go into Saturday, you'll see some activity down here across the southeast from Mississippi eastward, maybe a little bit in Louisiana. And then here's kind of what's left of the rest of that system. And we have a new low that kind of develops in Virginia, kind of reorients from this down. So we'll just see general rain and then maybe some showers and storms south, say from Virginia southward into the southeast. Looks like Florida will get a few scattered isolated storms on Saturday. And here, look at that. So here's that. See how it started and it really expands. You get it picks up a lot of moisture and energy. So by Saturday, you're seeing showers and thunderstorms break out, more rain up in the northern part through Nebraska and Minnesota, South Dakota, but from Kansas southward, probably mostly thunderstorms. There's going to be some severe again. It's going to kind of be in this general area where you see that. and that'll be through Sunday night. And this stuff kind of moves kind of this way, and that's kind of how the flow was. It was a little bit this way as that ridge was kind of doing this kind of thing. And then you see by Sunday morning, this thing's going offshore. You still have some lingering rain in the morning across parts of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast, but maybe some stuff along, Carolina coastal area, Georgia on Sunday morning, but it's going away. So, and then, so you see this, I mean, this thing kind of developed and then it moves down south and it just kind of goes away on Sunday weekends. But then we see that new storm emerge. This is that system that was coming into California with that rain, looks like some mountain snow. So that's moving across the west here, Nevada, Utah, Colorado is the bulk of it, some into Wyoming. The northern part of New Mexico and Arizona will get a little bit of precip. And then we see that low that forms out there and, kind of panhandle of Texas, Oklahoma area. And we see the rain break out again here. And then this is going to be the thunderstorms. So from like Kansas, Missouri, southward through the south down here into Texas. So this will kind of be more oriented north to west, or north to south, I should say. Yeah, and then so a lot of systems coming out. Looks like pretty wet up north. The thunderstorms will probably be from like Iowa southward. They might get a little bit up in here, but this is going to be where the cooler air is, so it may not be quite as unstable for thunderstorms. But we'll see what pans out. Um, and like I said, every day there's a threat of severe in certain areas, and we'll go over that here in a minute with all this energy. This will probably be the best day on Monday, I think. There'll be some pretty good chances over the weekend across the south, especially. And then there's that next storm out west there on Monday, so it's kind of lingering. It doesn't really go away. I mean, it kind of tapers off a little bit on Monday morning, but yeah. So there's this system out west and this big system moving across the central and eastern part of the country, and that'll progress east. So that's what it's looking like at the surface. Um, we'll look at this and we'll call it a day. This has gotten a little long. I'm sorry. I know it's Friday night, but hey, maybe you like this. So this is for the rest of tonight. The Arklatex area is under an enhanced risk. And that's where we saw that tornado warning and some severe thunderstorm warnings. And then that slight risk areas, pretty much in that whole area where we saw especially the northern part of this is where we saw those severe storms going on. So that's the rest of tonight. May go overnight a little bit and kind of start calming down towards morning. So that's what's going on for that. For tomorrow, okay, come on. Here we go. So like through Kansas, maybe get in, there's a marginal risk in southern Nebraska, but the best risk is across Kansas, so Wichita, Kansas. Looks like Kansas City may get a thunderstorm, but they're kind of outside of that severe risk. And that, the way the flow was set up and the energy, that makes sense. So yeah, down into Tulsa, even close to in Oklahoma City, they're going to be under the gun. Down into Arkansas and even like northwest Louisiana, down into Shreveport. So watch out. Even a good, a little bit of a threat across Texas. So from Kansas southward, watch out. Maybe even southern Nebraska. Pretty good tornado threat across Oklahoma and those the Arklatex region, so watch out. Pretty good wind and hail threat too, so watch out down there. It's gonna be rough and tumble, misbehaving going on, and then you start seeing that more north to south setup. So this is on Sunday, so the enhanced goes from Kansas City all the way across good portion of Kansas. I think Wichita is pretty close or on the edge of that. Slight risk down into Oklahoma City and even up near Omaha. So that whole area, under the gun on Sunday. So watch out. Um, and that even extends into Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, at least the marginal risk. So watch out there on Sunday. So the whole weekend, you got to be having a plan. Be safe. And then here's our day 4, which is our Monday. So it looks like it shifts east into, eastern half of Missouri for the most part, up into eastern Iowa, southern Wisconsin, into Illinois, and down, into northern Mississippi and parts of Tennessee, western Tennessee, western Kentucky, and even into Indiana. So that's where it will be more towards the Midwest, the severe threat, and the mid Mississippi Valley. So watch out there. It's going to be a pretty good chance. I think for me, tomorrow will be the best day, but I think any day of the week we're going to probably see severe and possibly some tornadoes. Possible every day. So, but yeah, but I like Monday. That looks like it has the most energy, so it could be more numerous. So, anyways, I've gone a little long here, but I just wanted to kind of explain what's going on because it's a little bit of a complicated. It's a different pattern. This isn't like a typical spring pattern that you see, that I've seen. Every year it just seems different, but that's just me. So, and I've been around for 30 plus years. But, anyways, hey, I appreciate you all. Please subscribe and like and tell everyone about us. And have a great weekend. And we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. Wixman Ray out.